What's up, everybody? It's your boy Andrew L. Casey. You're now tuned into the Middle Initial Podcast. Today is March 27th, 2023, and I'm here with one of my co-hosts today, Jude A. Jackson. What's going on, Jude?
I'm doing well. How are things going? It was pretty. I turned 31 recently, so I'm getting almost as old as you and Kev are. So that was my big milestone of the weekend. But besides that, things are going well. Nothing too crazy. Sad Kev isn't
Jude,
here. Super
Jude
sad.
definitely had his 31st birthday. None of us were invited over the weekend. This is something that we've grown accustomed to. Like last year, we all hung out, and this year it was like, I guess, he just woke up one day and said, "Hey, guys, it's my birthday." And went about his business. But happy birthday to you, of course. And of course,
Thank you.
we
Thank
got
you.
my main man in the building. You know what I mean? Friend of the show. Definitely one of my guys. DJ Bieneme from formerly of the New York Daily News, now working with ESPN out in Houston, Texas. What's going on, DJ?
Man, I'm chilling, man. Just there. I mean, it's off season time, man. So you obviously you keep your ears open. You try to be on the grounds, but again, it is off season, so um, the draft is approaching. So that's when things get fun. But it's kind of we're not in that dead period yet, but we're getting there. So I'm just chilling for the most part. I should be. I'm not the owners meeting because ESPN only sends like a certain amount of people to the owners meeting. So like reporters, they gotta pick which events they want to go to in the off season. So I picked the combine. So obviously, if I could redo it, I probably would owners meeting if I had known how the combine was gonna go. But it is what it is. Like it's not the end of the world.
Listen, that's what's up, man. I spoke to Antoine. He told me he was going to be at the owners' meeting. I definitely spoke to you, asked you. You told me he wasn't going to be there, but to be at the combine, of course, it's definitely fun. You weren't at the combine for Houston last year, were you?
Nah, I was with y'all. I was with y'all.
You still with us,
Saturday.
right? So,
Yeah,
right. So
Saturday.
this being your first you said Saturday. This being your first combine with the team this year. And I mean, listen, this is what we're going to do to start the show. We're catching up with DJ. Of course, you're missed out here in New York. Obviously, this is part of the reason why you're here. Another part is, we're going to celebrate your success and give you your flowers. I mean, not a lot of people get the opportunity to turn around 1 year stint working for the Daily News into ESPN, working for ESPN that quickly. We definitely knew about the news of you leaving, and we sat down and spoke with you for dinner and all that stuff. We're definitely proud of you, man. So I know there's some changes. Of course, the weather and stuff like that, and all that. There's difference between New York and being in Texas. But what else? Like, what other major differences have you noticed being a part of this Houston media?
So yeah, I mean, like with New York versus Houston, I think the most important thing is housing is just much better in Houston. It's not even close. Like it's not even like in the same stratosphere. Like
Mm.
you get way more for your money. Like my apartment right now, I got a roommate. He's my best friend from college. I mean, we're paying like $859 a month, and like the square footage is like 1,300. And we got like 3 rooms. You feel me? I mean, he's barely here, so it's basically like it's a 1 bedroom. I mean, it's just like one person, 3 beds.
Right.
Way more space. You know what I'm saying? A high rise, yada yada. Parking, which is free. Like versus New York, I was paying $1,275 with 3 other roommates, 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a drastic. It's a drastic difference. Now we talk about specifically the media. I will say that's one thing I do miss about the Jets beat. Is just like every time there was stuff that needed to be discussed, like or asked to like the head coaches and GMs stuff like that. It was like we never left a press conference wondering like, hey, we didn't ask this, we didn't ask that, we're missing something, Where here sometimes that happens, and some of that is not even our fault. It's more like just the structure of some press conferences where you get a mic handed to you. Where in New York, every press conference for them, all I can remember was a scrum, which I'm always good where what I'm saying, just get your question in. You know what I'm saying, be a man, ask your question, raise that voice if you got to.
Right.
Where here, like after games, it's a microphone, so you might get one question in tops, maybe two. So yeah, so sometimes that can be a little frustrating. If you're like you gotta write daily, and you have a certain question or you have something that you're missing from your article that you need a quote from the coach that since we didn't ask that, like you can't really include that. For example, at the end of the season, we got Nick Casario talking like 30 minutes or whatever, but like nobody asked about him having the number 2 overall pick. You know what I'm saying? Like having just like what kind of goes into that, and if they're gonna be targeting quarterback and things like that. Like those type of pressing questions that people actually want to hear. And nobody asked. And it's not because some people didn't want to ask, it's just the microphone didn't get back to the people that wanted to ask those type of questions. So I think that's the biggest difference. Like that would have never flown in New York. Like you got 2 top 10 picks, you got 2 top 12 picks, and you need a quarterback. Like somebody at the end of that presser, at the end of the season presser is gonna ask that. Somebody. So I think that's probably the biggest difference from like the New York media to like the Houston media. The New York media is just way more aggressive. Or Houston media is pretty laid back. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking to my dog Drew, and I was saying that we were discussing Zach, and we were discussing like why he didn't work. And there's a few things that we mentioned. Like we mentioned the fact that like things that you just can't even like that go deeper than just what you saw on film at BYU that translates to NFL that his style didn't work. Little things like him not had like he didn't play with that many black players at BYU. So now growing up in Utah, not being around that many black people to now being in an entire locker room that's dominated by black people, like that's an adjustment for anybody. Like it's almost like if you, me, or Jude were growing up in a completely black dominant area, and then we go off to college. We're not playing sport, we're just going off to college somewhere away that's majority white. That's going to be an adjustment. Yeah. It's going to take some time to get used to. Granted, we would be just college students where there's no pressure on us having to carry a franchise. Where obviously with quarterback, you got to carry a franchise. You got to be able to be that leader basically from day one. And so we talked about that a little bit. Then we also mentioned there's something else that we mentioned that I can't remember. I just had it like this is all gonna make sense, but then whatever I was gonna say on top of that completely just left my mind. But again, it was little things like that that we were discussing. I really forgot where I was going with that point. I'm not gonna lie to you. It completely left my mind.
It sounded like you were talking about culture shock as far as like you being in a laid back media market in comparison to high.
So what me and Drew were saying, what I was telling him is, so you had that, and then on top of that, the media market of New York. When you combine that going from BYU, where it's basically like whoever covers you is basically propaganda, to New York, where you have everybody that expects you to be the guy off rip, or at least show signs you be the guy. And if you're not the guy by year 2, or you're not showing signs you be the guy by year 2, they're gonna be pressuring you and ask you a whole bunch of questions that's gonna obviously mess with your psyche a little bit. And we saw him kind of crack a little bit, but and that kind of like sped up the process. If he was in Houston, he'd be going in year 3. I'm being very honest. He'd be going in year 3 because not because he would have shown more per se, but like that pressure wouldn't have been on him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like each week you're getting bombasted week after week about your inconsistent play. Where in Houston, like Davis Mills caught some flack, but it wasn't that much. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, like he was a 3rd round pick versus the number 2 overall pick, but he had a chance to prove he'd be a long-term guy, and he wasn't able to prove that, so they're gonna move on. But if that was a 1st round pick, they probably running back one more year just to see. You know what I'm saying? Just to see.
Especially with the draft capital that you guys have now.
Right. And like there's no pressure like, yo, y'all whiffed on y'all pick. There's no pressure. There won't be that much pressure of that. Because that's just not what happens in this market. Like you're not gonna week after week be having to justify why you went with Zach over X, Y, and Z in Houston. You're just not going to deal with that often. Like let's say hypothetically they draft Bryce or they draft CJ, whoever's there too, Will Levis, Anthony Mission, it could be whoever. Let's say they draft whoever, you know what I'm saying? Like by year 2, let's say they're not showing enough. Like there's not going to be that pressure week after week from the media standpoint of, yo, why are you only completing, sub 60% of your passes? Why are you still not showing that growth? It's just not going to be that. It's just going to be more like, okay, you know, what's going on in the process? Like, why haven't you been able to develop? What's been the issue? There's been more questions like that versus like where Zach was basically being asked, are you holding the team back? That's not going to happen. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So that's the biggest difference.
Right.
That is that, just even like just daily locker room stuff. Like sometimes it would be like 5-6 guys in there. I'm not lying, like for real, like 5-6 media guys. Like I'm including TV and radio and writers. With the Jets beat, the majority is just writers. Sometimes you get some TV guys, sometimes you get some radio guys. But with the Texans, it was just some writers and maybe a TV guy, depending on the day. So I think that's for sure the biggest. Like there's just way more stuff that like you can get away with in the Houston market that you couldn't get away with in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like when Brandon Cooks asked for his trade, like he was able to avoid the media for a little minute. In Houston and New York, that just wouldn't have happened. Like people.
We've seen it twice. Yeah, we've seen it twice with Mims, and we've seen it with Moore. So that kind of leads to my follow up. Like you're basically highlighting the stuff that we've been, we're trying to figure out the comparison and contrast between the Houston market and the New York market. Does that make it easier for you to do your job out there in Houston, or is it more challenging than now to say, I have to find the story within the story? Like, is it just coming to you because it's so laid back, or it's like, are you trying to dig and find a little bit more and flesh out a little bit more in your work out there?
No, I wouldn't say it makes it harder. It just sometimes be a little annoying. It's like when Brandon Cooks comes back and we're having like the first time we finally can talk to him since he asked for his trade, and we're asking why you got traded, like why you wanted to be traded. Why are you asking like, well, since you're back, do you have more confidence in this team to be able to like turn things around? Does it give you more like obviously not. It's not like when he came back they won a game. It's not like when he missed that one game against the Eagles, he came back and they won. Like that game he missed, they still lost. So why would he be more confident? You know what I'm saying? Like the question came right after Adal Brooks was asking like very hard hitting questions because Brooks like he heard something and obviously like his antenna went off. Like what do you mean that you don't know what the direction of the culture is going? Because Cook was being very candid. So like at that point, everything should be focused on that. His relationship with the team, his relationship with the team going forward. Because him asking for a trade, you're going to have to revisit that again because he had just got a new contract. So like there's no way he was going to go and come to this offseason and be like, oh, I changed my mind. I want to be a Texan going forward. So everything should have been focused on that for something potentially bigger because obviously he felt something was different or something wrong was with the organization that he needed to get out of there. You feel what I'm saying? So everything should be focused on that and try to figure out what that could possibly be. Not like, oh, do you feel like team's in a better position now? No, I think at that time they were like 1-6, 1-7, whatever it was. They only had one win at that point. So like, nah. So it doesn't necessarily make the job harder. I think it just be more annoying. It's like, bro, like what you doing, bro? Like, come on, bro. Like, bro, like we should be talking about, like we should be focused on this, But like, not all of it is, everybody's fault. Sometimes, some people they just have a different way of going about it. It just sometimes it's just be annoying at the time because, like we need certain quotes and we need certain questions answered so we can continue going forward before recovering.
Right. Jude, you got any questions?
My only question is, how are the Texans fans down there? Like, do they engage with you a lot, or is it very like, how is it different from Jets fans?
So obviously Jets fans are more like active on social media. Texans fans aren't as active. But I think the difference between Texans fans and Jet fans is Jet fans are gonna show up no matter what. Texans fans are more like, give me a reason to show up. And I respect that.
Yeah,
I got no issues with that. Like, because I would rather, like, because me as a fan too, like, I was a similar way. Like, give me a reason to show up. And for the most part, all my years, being a fan, as I've gotten older, when you're legit, you don't know no better. But as you get older, you realize, yo, do I really want to invest all my emotional energy into this or not? You know what I'm saying? And it's not giving me much. Like I can be on Sundays doing something else, something more cool, instead of watching this team disappoint me. Until recently, they finally give me a reason. But I remember the 2019 year, I didn't watch the Dolphins at all. I watched probably like 2 games, and one of them was because I bet on it. Actually, both games because I bet on them. That was it. I bet on them. I bet against them actually. I bet with the Dolphins against the Steelers, and then against the Patriots in week 17, I bet against them. That's the only 2 games I watched. Because for what? Like, they didn't give me a reason to watch, and that's how a lot of Texans fans are. So because I know when Deshaun, JJ, Hop were here, I know the city was up. I know it was jam-packed week after week. You know what I'm saying?
Aaron
But
Foster.
This week, this year it was they were just checked out. Well, I won't say they were checked out, but they didn't have a reason to continue to show up. So, they'll interact. They've been interacting way more in the offseason simply because they got things to look forward to. They got 2 first-round draft picks. They had cap space. Probably gonna get a quarterback. So I think that's the biggest difference is that obviously Jet Twitter is different, just completely different beast. But I mean, there's pros and cons to that. You want a fan base that cares, because there's pros to that. And there's negatives, and sometimes they care too much. It's like, yo, go outside, go get you something to drink.
Touch some grass.
You know what I'm saying? Go touch some grass.
Some grass.
But then, on the flip side, it's okay. Well, dang, like, does nobody care about this team? You're right. It's the right.
Yo, Houston is too nice, man. Like I've heard so much about that city. I couldn't imagine spending my Sundays worrying about the Texans and in summer and fall when it's like 70, 80 degrees outside, and you can just go downtown and find something to do. But in New York being what it is and always active, like people always ask, like, yo, if the Jets are bad or the Knicks are bad, why people still go? Because it's just something to do. Because you have people from out of town who've never been to the Garden or have never been to a game, and that's the draw, is these attractions and stuff like that. But if I'm going to Houston or Atlanta, like, I don't have to go to a Falcons game. I don't got to go to a Falcons game. I could just go, anywhere. Just go downtown, go to a nice spot, go to a rooftop lounge or bar or something like that. But you had tweeted out something that was so interesting. I can't quote it verbatim, but it was something to the effect of you being a good luck charm. And I think that may be the case, because your only year here, the Jets had a great draft. Joe Douglas had one of the best drafts in Jets history, and basically the foundation of what our team is right now: offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. You go to Houston, and all of a sudden Texas got 2 picks. They had a decent draft last season. They look like they have the pick of the list as far as the quarterback's concerned, whether it be Bryson and CJ Stroud. Are you a good luck charm, DJ? Like, are you the thing that teams are missing? And if you're, my follow-up question would be, where would you go next if it's trending this way? What would be the next destination?
Yeah, nah, for real. I mean, yeah, man. I do feel like a good luck charm. You know what I'm saying? I do feel like that. I for sure feel like a good luck charm, man. I mean, for the most part, I just, man, that's a good question. I don't, where I would go next. It gotta be a big city. You feel me? Probably either be the LA Rams or the Chicago Bears.
LA. I mean, Chicago just had to pull of a major trade, so I know Chicago needs you. But I think I know a team that would need you, but they're in a small city. Let's get down to this Lamar Jackson thing, right?
Oh, wow. That was a great segue.
Hey, listen.
How do you do this case? This is generational. Wow.
Listen. Yo, Jude, I can't give away my trade secrets how I do it, but it's a method to my madness every time. Lamar Jackson pretty much made it very known that he told the Baltimore Ravens March 2nd, I want out of Baltimore. Baltimore, they gave him the transitional franchise tag. I think they gave some sort of franchise tag to Huntley, who's behind his backup, which I don't understand. I think it's probably the first time in history 2 quarterbacks had some sort of a franchise tag. There is discussions of collusion. People are like, oh, that's far-fetched. Like, no, this dates back from last year, because DeMaurice Smith was on, I don't know if it was Rich Cimini's show or something like, not Rich, Ian Rappaport. and he was talking about it, and he was saying like they called the ownership meeting collusion week. So DeMaurice Smith was very vocal about collusion, very vocal about the Lamar Jackson market and how the Washington thing has changed things up. I'm gonna let Jude get a chance to build on this before I get to you, DJ. Judy, we've heard a lot. Joe Douglas, they asked Joe Douglas about Lamar and possibly, is he interested? And he did the whole political thing. It wouldn't be right, because they're engaged with talks with Aaron Rodgers. But has this fiasco gone far enough, and how far do you think it goes? So this is going as long as the Aaron Rodgers thing, but this is a total different beast. How far do you think this goes? And I mean, of course, a zero shot of Lamar playing. How far do you think this goes?
That's a great question, Case. I think with Lamar Jackson, I think the Ravens come to their senses eventually. I think they run the risk of, because Tyler Huntley is not a long-term plan of any solution. They don't have exactly the greatest draft pick to really go up and get a quarterback and everything. The roster outside, if we're being really honest about the Baltimore Ravens, the roster outside Lamar Jackson is not exactly what I call world beaters, so to speak, So it's like, they're going to accommodate. I think they're going to accommodate them sooner rather than later. Now, who knows? Maybe the collusion's real, and they're going to be really stubborn about it. But that's just my take. They're really they almost have to accommodate Lamar Jackson sooner rather than later, unless they want everyone fired from the Ravens. Because, like I say on the show so many times, Lamar saved them from being fired like 4 or 5 years ago. Joe Flacco was there doing nothing pretty much, and then Lamar came in and literally brought them to the playoffs, and we see what happened since. And it's kind of weird how they're treating him, but I'm not surprised because of the whole collusion thing. And I think there's one more thing I want to say. If they're negotiating bad faith, I know some people were talking about in relation to Aaron Rodgers. I think it's more about the fact that the Baltimore Ravens are going to match any offer that's reasonable for Lamar Jackson. A bad faith offer in relation to like the league, good old boys club, would be like fully guaranteed like $500, $600 million, fully guaranteed. That would be a bad faith offer.
What?
Because it's like, what? Yeah,
they offer. Would it be a bad faith offer? Someone to offer that, for you to offer that, you have to be prepared for someone. Because
there's no chance. Yeah, but there's no chance that the Ravens are going to match it. If there's the whole collusion angle going. Yeah, there's no chance. It's more of the collusion angle. It's a good offer for Lamar, but it's like the collusion angle I'm talking about. Like, there's no chance the Ravens are going to match that offer. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's right.
So you're basically like a poison pill offer is not going to be on the table for Lamar Jackson.
Pretty much.
And I mean, Kev had said the same thing a couple of weeks ago that the Ravens want people to do the dirty work, but DJ, he comes out on Twitter. I mean, of course, there's the other thing that happened too. I don't know the guy who was supposed to be his agent who was calling teams.
Oh yes, Florida man.
Yeah, Florida man who was calling teams. Like this is like we're reaching these unprecedented, these unprecedented moments, these deeper, darker waters, and it's not looking good for the NFL per se, even though NFL is Teflon, but it's starting to look even worse for Lamar because with an agent, there's the buffer. We've had that conversation. The agent is the one who can be the buffer and take the bad news for you and regurgitate it in a more digestible manner. But now we're at the point where you're using kind of desperate tactics, and then you're coming out today with, well, I wanted to be gone for March 2nd because I don't feel like they respect me. Where do they go from here, DJ? Like, is there anything amicable, any way to fix this within Baltimore? Or if they do trade him, how long does this go? Does it go into this season? Does it go into next season? Like, where are we going with this?
So I think, that's a good question. So I think that with Lamar, it's so nuanced, man. It's a very nuanced conversation. He wants a fully guaranteed. He wants basically a fully guaranteed deal. They're just all right. So it's fully nuanced. So let's dive into it. So from my perspective, I feel like Lamar is justified in asking for a fully guaranteed deal, or damn near, and the Ravens are fully justified in saying kick rocks, because when in the history of the NFL, has the Browns done something that was like, yo, that's a good idea. Let's go do that. Let's do what the Browns did. They did it. Let's do it. All right, that's one. All right. So 2, like when it comes to fully guaranteed deals for a quarterback, it's just hard to get an owner that's really sign off on that unless they're like super desperate, because it's just like, what if hypothetically they're just one, they're not that good. As the contract starts to lengthen, and let's say they get hurt, like there's just no out. Like I was looking at the Deshaun Watson's contract, like the Browns are stuck with him no matter what. Like until that contract finishes, they are stuck with him. And these teams want to always have flexibility to get out of these deals just in case the quarterback forgets how to play. We've seen too many quarterbacks forget how to play. Like Carson Wentz, he went from almost winning an MVP to this man's on his fourth team, about to be on his fourth team in 4 years. And it's not like it's not like Carson isn't talented. He is. Obviously, between the years, I don't know what went off the rails. We see it all the time where a guy got a really good year, and then it could just look like garbage. Like Jared Goff went to the playoffs, went to the Super Bowl, helped get the Rams to the Super Bowl, made the Pro Bowl year through 32 touchdowns. Was at that point, I think that was 2018? Like he was assured a bona fide top 10 quarterback. And then by 2020, people thought he was trash. And he got traded in 2021 to the Lions. So things happen very fast in the NFL where one moment you look at that guy, next moment you think about it, look at Kyler Murray and look at Russ. They both got big deals. Russ, you traded what you traded to get him, and he got a big deal. Kyler got a big deal. Both of those teams, let's be honest, would regret how their quarterbacks performed that, in 2022. Russ was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Kyler was and then he tore his ACL. He's going to miss half of 2023. So, it's a copycat league, so teams see what happened with this more recent teams that went all in on a quarterback and how that backfired. And you also got to throw in the fact that the Rams, while they did get a Super Bowl out of it, they went all in, traded for Stafford, gave up basically three first-round picks, and now they could use that first-round pick right now that now going to the Lions. So when you move off the team building and logistical aspects, Lamar has also failed at the fact that he has not done a good job of playing the game. You need a good PR team to help facilitate whatever narratives you want to get out in the public, and to facilitate. Yeah, so let's focus on whatever narratives you want to get out there, because that's what agents do. Now, I'm not saying he need an agent. Nah, I ain't saying all that, because you don't really need an agent to do that part. Does it help? Absolutely. But easily, if you want no agent and but you're seeing all these people say you want this and that, and nobody knows what Lamar wants. All Lamar had to do during the season is find somebody in the media that he trusted. It could be anybody, whether it's a local reporter, national, and just, all right, this is what's really going on. This is my side. Boom. And then that person will be able to report that, keep it pushing. Because what people fail to realize, and I see a lot of Jet fans a lot, they'll mention this, talk about the big bad media, yada, yada, yada. Media plays a big factor in a lot of this stuff, regardless of what people may assume or think. People get jobs based off of their media coverage. Like Adam Gase got a second chance because he knew how to play the media when he left Miami. He knew how to play the media. You know what I'm saying? A lot of coaches know how to do that. Some coaches, they're able to rise up through the rankings because they know how to play the game within the media, So I think that's also hurt him because, again, owners and GMs are seeing this was being reported that he wants this. But let's say Lamar isn't saying that. Nobody knows. And on top of there's no agent. They couldn't contact him prior to the offseason start, like to the league year starting. So there's no middleman. They can't talk to it like his agent to figure out what he really wants. To know what that number is, so then they can either game plan for that or they can be like, now we're good. Either way. But if you're not going to go to agent route, you gotta at least know how to play the game to a certain extent to be able to, when teams want to reach out to you, etc. They know if you don't want a fully guaranteed deal. Teams think you want a fully guaranteed deal, so no one's coming forward. But he hasn't been able to do his part where to put that out there. Hey, I don't want a fully guaranteed deal. So that's where he messed up. But the Ravens messed up. They should have paid him after the 2020 season, where he wanted to play again against Tennessee. That's what they should have paid him, because the price was only going up. Deshaun at that point had been traded. I think Josh Allen got his deal. Mahomes had got his deal. Because the number was only going to keep going up. So that's where they messed up at, is by not paying him after the 2020 season. That's when he was eligible also. You think the Chargers and the Bengals are going to wait to pay Herbert and pay Burrow? Nah, they're going to go ahead and get out in front of that now, because the price only goes up. Quarterback is too valuable of a commodity in today's game to try to be quote unquote cheap at it or wait to sign your guy. it just backfires every time. You're gonna end up having to pay the piper, or you end up becoming a Browns where you get a little desperate and you're all right, well, let's go pay all this money to go get Deshaun Watson, and then now going forward, they don't have draft capital and they don't got that much in free agency to be able to improve the roster. The roster's gonna be what it is going forward. Right. Like they might be straight this year, but each year is gonna continue the talent around them. Deshaun
that cap hit when I saw the three
cap
hits, the $60 million. I'm like, damn, this. Yeah, it was a lot of
a $60 million cap hit is insane.
It's insane. Like, I don't know how
if they restructure the deal and push the money further down, if they add 1 year, then if the 60 might go down, but in the following it's gonna be 80.
80, yeah.
So it's like, so like it's a very nuanced conversation regarding Lamar. And I think that overall, like most people haven't tried to have the fully nuanced conversation that pay Lamar the fully guaranteed deal, or don't pay Lamar the fully guaranteed deal, or this team should just trade X, Y, and Z to go get him, or it's more nuanced than that. But to answer the full question, moving on just to nuance of the conversation, I think a team like the Colts should go after him, a team like the Falcons should go after him, even though I think Lamar on those two teams, they aren't Super Bowl contenders because they're not going to have enough. But it's better to have the guy than not have the guy.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Falcons came out like the team. Like it was just like the teams probably within an hour. We discussed this like within an hour, teams coming out and saying it. But the Falcons, like with Arthur Blank and everything, and who had Michael Vick, it was pushing him around in a wheelchair. I'm surprised. Like it's Calvin Ritter on the roster, and I think Weston finally just he had decided someplace else. But it's like you're really going to sit there and say we're not going to go after Lamar Jackson, and that's probably your best chance, especially in the NFC South, where Lamar could definitely come in and win 8 to 9 games and get you back into the playoffs. Like I don't understand why you come out, and that's where the people had the feeling of collusion. And then also to your point, it's starting to feel like a conversation of fairness. Like Watson gets this deal considering everything that's going on. It's like, well, Lamar patiently waited. It's not fair, and that's why I think the conversation lacks nuance because we're entering that realm of Kirk Cousins got his guaranteed money, and Mahomes got his big 10-year, $400 million deal, and Watson's getting his guaranteed money. Why can't me, the person who was underdrafted, the person who started off being like a / wide receiver / running back / quarterback, the person who earned it, who's MVP, who kind of silenced a lot of people and a lot of critics, why can't I just get the money and the stuff that I deserve? And then we're entering the realm of fairness. That's why I feel like it lacks nuance. Like there's no like, a healthy medium where we understand where he's wrong and at fault and where Baltimore's wrong and at fault. And people are picking sides. And I mean, listen, when it comes to nuance and conversations and people just being like, fairly matched, it's always going to be some division when it comes to your favorite people. And there's always going to be some division when it comes to your favorite teams. So let's just move on to like Jets and Dolphins. You are a Dolphins.
Oh my goodness.
You're a Florida boy. We're Jets fans. We know the off-season stuff is going on. I'm in Discord. Shout out to the people in Discord. Also, we have an announcement at the end of the show. Well, matter of fact, let's announce it now. The Patreon is dropping live Wednesday when this episode comes out. We are dropping the Patreon. So if you're at this point in the episode, please make sure to follow us and join the Patreon because things like this, access to guys like DJ Bieneme, access to Antoine Staley. We got a lot of surprises, a lot of tickets to give away to Jets games, Knicks games, VIP events, the draft parties coming up. We definitely do our second annual draft party. So I definitely want people to sign up to be patrons, so we give you exclusives. But after this week, you're only going to get audio on the Patreon at first, I should say. Not only audio. You're going to wait a little longer for the audio. You're definitely not going to get full episodes on video unless you're a patron, and until like a little time off to time later. And you're going to miss out on a lot of VIP stuff, man. Pro tips. If people like, what pro tips with Tip and Jackson, exclusive on Patreon. All in with Kevin Lewis, exclusive on Patreon. We got a couple of things we're working on with a couple of media people that's going to be exclusive on our Patreon. So make sure you guys sign up and follow us on Patreon. But back to the nuanced conversation, Jets Dolphins. Listen, we were up in arms about the Aaron Rodgers thing, Derek Carr thing, stuff like that. Rodgers is still not here. The Dolphins were rumored, about this quarterback, that quarterback, but they came out and said Tua is our guy. What are your thoughts on what's been going on as a former person who reported for the Jets and as a Miami Dolphins fan, like, what are your thoughts on these two teams?
Starting with the Jets, I mean, they're gonna make it a 3-team race for sure. Once they get, they're gonna get Aaron. Like they're gonna get him. It's not like they're not gonna get him. So I think it's gonna make it a 3-team race. For the AFC East crown. I think that the Jets on paper probably have the more they got fixed the O-line, but they probably have the more well-rounded. Aaron probably had the most well-rounded team because the Bills feel a lot more Josh Allen centric. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen centric. The Dolphins feel more Tua, Tyreek Hill, Waddle centric. Now, granted, their defense should be markedly better now. They got a new DC in Vic Fangio, and they added Jalen Ramsey. Nick Chubb, Bradley Chubb coming off the edge. You got Phillips coming off the edge. You got Wilkins in the middle at D tackle. But again, I just feel like based off what the Jets defense did last year, they can just be in the top because defense varies. Year after year, you could be top 10 one year and then be bad the next year. It just happens. But I do think that they have most of the pieces required to still be a top 12 unit. Because if you look at the schedule coming up, they're going to play the NFC East and they're going to play the NFC West. So the chances of them being top 5 ain't that high. It just isn't. You're not going to play that gauntlet of a schedule and think that you're still going to be the top 5 as long as everybody stays healthy. But I do think that they probably have the most well-rounded team. We do have to see like what Aaron has left. He said he was basically 90% retired and decided to come back. The whole, he's motivated. Whatever. We get so caught up on these cliches, like, he's motivated and that's why he's gonna come back and stick it to him. He gonna ball, he not. You know what I'm saying? Like all that cliche. And that stuff don't move me. Never has, never will. Because again, like having been a former athlete, like I understand how like the art of revenge can drive you, but that runs out after a while. You know what I'm saying? Like that can only take you so far. Now if you just always naturally have that chip on your shoulder, like Baker Mayfield, it just kind of seems like you're just insecure at that point. Like. You can find things to motivate you, but the whole like he want to prove the Packers wrong. That's whatever. Like Packers, once they trade him, they're not thinking about him like that no more. You know what I'm saying? Right. So you basically trying to stick it to a team that's not thinking about you like that no more. So again, last year he did regress. Like that's part of why they also are moving off of him because he did regress. So it just comes down to like which version of Aaron you're gonna get. Like you're gonna get the MVP version, you're gonna get the 2022 version. He's older, and he is old, so 40. we just kind of got to see how that plays together. Me personally, if I were them, I would go after Lamar. I mean, Lamar is younger. You open your window a lot longer, way longer. But Rodgers, you get 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then that's that. And then now you're back circling wheels. For the Dolphins, I mean, for me, it just comes down: can their defense get better? Based off of last year, because the defense is basically like if our offense doesn't show up, then our defense, then we're gonna lose. Every game they lost was because their offense didn't show up. Outside of like, I guess I can't think of any games they actually lost where the offense showed up. So like the offense showed up, it didn't show up, they were gonna lose. If the offense showed up, they won for the most part. So yeah, I mean we gotta see in 2022 can that continue. But it's going to be a nice 3-team race. I think everybody's listening can agree that the fact that the Patriots are going to be last in the division, I think that's something that we should all be happy about. It's clearly over. Like if you just look at their roster, because for me, when I evaluate teams going into the season, I just look at the rosters. Like I don't get into the cliches. I don't get into the based on what they did. Like I just look at the rosters. Sometimes like people. They'll be so focused on the name of the team instead of the roster of the team. Like, I remember telling my boys in the chat, like, I think the Giants are better than what people think. I think the Panthers are going to be competing for a playoff spot down to the wire. And I think the Jags are going to be competing for a playoff spot. Oh, nah. Why would the Jags? You talking about the Jags? The Jags? The Panthers. It's like, nah, bro. Just look at the rosters, man. The rosters will tell you everything you need to know. Like, like, is there a good player at corner? Do they have good players in this unit, that unit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? If they have that, then you can expect them to be a lot better. And you can obviously look at the schedule, see who they play, and then you'll have a decent idea. That's why it's gonna be a 3-team race. I think to start, but I think by the end of the year, I think it's gonna be either to win the division between the Dolphins and the Jets, or the Jets and the Bills, because the Jets have a 4th-place schedule, which means they're gonna get the Broncos, they're gonna get the Browns, and they're going to get the Texans. So, like, I think it's going to be close enough to where those few extra wins are going to make a monumental difference, towards the end of the season.
Now, I have a question. How do you think Tua is going to go along this year? Because we saw his health concerns last year. He had, 2 concussions last year, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you think he's going to do this year?
I think if he stay healthy, I think, he's going to put up 30-plus touchdowns. I think he'll go 4,000 yards. He just got to play 15 out of the 17 games. I think because in that offense, like, every quarterback that succeeds, like, they take, like, their first year is good is good, solid to good, and then that next year they take a massive leap. I can go through the examples. Aaron Rodgers' first year was like, year 2 MVP. Matt Ryan first year, year 2 MVP. Jared Goff first year, you're like, okay, he can play. Next year in the Super Bowl, he threw 32 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Throw for well over 4,000 yards. Jimmy G, I mean, that is a lesser example, but he got in that offense in 2017. He got hurt in 2018, 2019. His second full year playing, they went to the Super Bowl. So it's been proven in that offense, because it's so quarterback friendly. Once you learn the terminology, understand what they're trying to do, you can really ball out as long as you got the pieces around you. So I think that if he stays healthy, I truly believe that he'll continue to build on what he was doing last year. I mean, his numbers, his per game averages were kind of crazy. He was averaging I think 280 per game, and then he had 25 passing touchdowns in 12 games that he finished. I mean, you're basically averaging over 2 touchdowns per game, because he only played fully 13 games. And he played 13 games, but only finished 12, and he averaged what he averaged. So he had those numbers. So you expand it for an entire year, you're talking about mid-30s, over 4,000 yards passing.
I'd put him in bubble wrap. It's just one of those things. Like, his health is the biggest concern right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with concussions.
I mean, I ain't worried about the concussions though. Like, players get concussions all the time.
I'm worried about the concussions because I think that's still something that the NFL doesn't really. I mean, let me not say that. The NFL has improved concussion protocol. They have improved, but it's a lot of things are down. But yeah, it's just one of those things. And I am concerned with Tua's health overall. But yeah, when he was playing, he was balling. He was definitely playing. He was balling. And as far as the Jets are concerned, look, man, I don't believe in paper champions. I don't believe in, we're winning this and that. I really don't. Right. I believe in going out there and doing it. You know what I mean? Go out there and do it. That's what I believe in. And I would love to see it happen. It's still the Bills division until proven otherwise. And as far as strength of schedule is concerned, I think as far as strength of schedule is concerned, we have a 4th-place schedule, but that always changes during the season because a team improves, and next thing you know, your strength of schedule goes to then it's something else. Then the team's a 500, whatever the case may be. Things always happen during the season. So preseason stuff, it looks like we could probably pull out 10, 11 wins, but if other teams improve and they're better, especially after the draft and stuff like that, things may change. So I never look at that strength of schedule stuff and take it as gospel until the season actually plays out to see what happens, because things change.
I agree with that. It just, I think history speaks for itself. Like, how many times we see actually the team that had the number 1 overall pick, the 2 overall pick, the number 4 overall pick, and the 5 overall pick in 2022 ended up being in the playoff hunt in December. You know what I'm saying? Like, and 2 of them finished with a ring. Okay, 1 won the division, ended up in the division round. Actually, 2 of them ended up in the division round, 1 won the division. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens all the time where teams at the bottom in the playoffs. That's just how it goes year after year after year. So, you just kind of gotta, like I said, bro, you gotta look at the rosters, see who's good, who's not good, see who's a difference maker, who's not different. Now you can't anticipate quarterbacks taking massive leaps like Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen in year 3 or Tua last year. You can't anticipate that, but you can anticipate, what weapons are, what the rosters look like, and just kind of gauge how good they should be going into the upcoming season.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, we got a couple more topics. I know you can't stay long. I'm gonna try to run through it. Let's jump into this real quick, man. You a Florida boy, and let's stick to the Florida theme, man. FAU versus San Diego State on Saturday, and Miami versus UConn, March Madness. It's possible we have an all Florida championship game, I should say. Listen, I have watched a little bit of March. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been watching a lot. I've watched a little bit. I did watch FAU on Saturday beat Kansas State. I did watch UConn destroy Gonzaga. Gonzaga looked terrible. Like after Timmy was like in foul trouble, there was no offense, there was no movement. It was just stuck in the mud. I can't say much about FAU and San Diego State. Can't say much about Miami, UConn, but the possibility of Miami and FAU going to the national championship is there, even though I think it's going to be UConn, probably UConn, FAU. What are your thoughts, real quick, DJ, about a possible all Florida championship?
Man, that'd be dope. Because it's crazy. A South Florida team won the D2 basketball national championship. And that team was undefeated. It's in South, I think Southeast Norway University, something like that. But yeah. I mean, bro, I haven't rooted for a team as hard as in college basketball as hard as I did for FAU as I did this past weekend. I was rooting hard for them. Cause like FAU until this season never had over 20 wins. They only had over 20 wins in the season once. Yeah, and I think that season was a minute ago. I mean, last year they won 19 games. This year they're at 35. They won 35 games. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of enjoy March Madness like that. Some people, they don't enjoy it like that because, no blue bloods. But the whole blue blood stuff is kind of annoying.
It's getting old, though. It's getting old.
Yeah, I mean, you want to watch, bro? Like, I don't really care for all that. I'm just trying to, I don't really mind the Cinderella stories kind of going far. I think it kind of speaks to just the talent in college basketball is kind of more spread out because the transfer portal more than NIL. Because FAU ain't dishing out no NIL money to those players. Same with San Diego State, like for real. Like people really think like you got boosters like boy, and we gotta go get number. We gotta go get number 15 from FAU and cut that check $500,000. You know what I'm saying? Like. And think about it, if that player was worth that type of money, he wouldn't be at FAU or San Diego State.
Right. But also DJ, and I mean to ask it to DJ. I mean, sorry to Jude. If you're noticing the rosters, it's like Gonzaga was like, I think it was senior, like it was like maybe one freshman, one sophomore, one freshman, one sophomore, 2 juniors, and a senior. You're looking at these rosters. It's not a lot of one and done. There's not a lot of Kentucky's out there, Memphis, like the John Calipari team and stuff like that. I know Rick Pitino is going to St. John's, and that may shake up things in the East, which desperately needs some. But Jude, how do you feel about the change, like the tournament being like no top dogs or like blue bloods, like DJ was saying?
It's definitely very interesting for sure. Like you go to a lot of these tournaments, it's always, it's Duke versus Kansas, it's UNC versus Kentucky or stuff like that. And that's fine every once in a while, but it gets kind of boring. Some of the best upsets in the tournament are really just like when a upstart or like a underdog really just like upsets one of these teams. I remember, I went to NC State, ACC and all of that stuff. I remember what year was it? 2012 or 2013, NC State was like one of the last teams to get in the tournament. They beat the 15, like, I'm trying to remember what seed was. 6 seed and 2 seed. They beat Georgetown and SDSU, and they played a really tough game against Kansas. That was probably one of the best bias, of course, but that was probably one of the best tournament games I've ever seen. And some of the best tournament games are usually just upsets, like the Virginia versus, who was it that upset them a couple years ago when they were number 1 seed?
UMBC, so University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Yeah, like that was one of the best games to watch. And that was just such a crazy.
I'm surprised you remember that. I said, "What? University of what?"
Yeah, that was such a
Maryland,
crazy
Baltimore
game. And so it's like seeing Miami in the Final Four. It's pretty interesting because in the ACC, like people think Duke, UNC, somewhat NC State, Wake Forest, Virginia. They don't think about Miami. And to see Miami in the Final Four like that, that's really something.
A football school. Sorry, Miami, and even Bama. Like I'm like Bama. I'm like, why is
Bama's basketball team was low key better than their football team this past season. Like,
I'm like, why is SLD talking about Bama on the timeline? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, oh shoot, the basketball team is actually good. Like, all I heard about the controversy was about the whole thing with the gun and all that stuff. I didn't even get into that, but I'm like, Bama's in it. Like, it's crazy. I just keep seeing names drop and teams drop. Like, traditional powerhouses going on. I mean, I remember the years like USF was good. Like USF was good in the tournament one year. You know what I mean? Or Baylor was good. 1 year in the tournament and stuff. Like Baylor had a good run for a couple of years. Actually, he had a good program. And then all of a sudden, it's like, these teams out of nowhere, which are traditional football teams or teams like not powerhouses like FAU, like going to the Final Four. And like I think it's great for college.
Yeah, I think the big thing regarding that is just
college basketball.
I
was saying like the reason why I was saying the NBA product going forward was because when it comes to the draft now, like a guy like Timmy, who me and my partner watched the game, you're talking like, do you think he's going to NBA? I'm like, he don't have an NBA game. He doesn't have an NBA game. Like he's not a dynamic. He's not like a Jokic. He's not he's not even Brook Lopez. You know what I mean? Like he got a J and nothing like that. He's a solid dude for like early 2000s, maybe mid 90s. Yeah, but he's not athletic or nothing. He's just a strong, 5th year senior. And that's about it. Like, so you're going to see guys who are going deep in the tournament who are 3-4 year guys who may become first round picks because they're visible. You know what I mean? And you're not, the freshman phenom. Of course, you have the freshman phenoms, the guys who are supposed to be there or whatever, the guys who don't go the traditional route. But I think going forward, it's going to kind of put guys in a vacuum and get them higher drafts. Like, I mean, you look at it as a good thing or a bad thing, but it's going to be interesting going forward, man, because the names ain't sexy.
It's also a generation. I feel like it's also somewhat of a generation thing too. I mean, it feels like these guys just aren't. They're like, oh my God, we're playing Kansas. Oh my God, we're playing Kentucky. They're not afraid of them anymore. And a lot of that's because the coaches are gone. Like Coach K is gone, Will Williams is gone. So it's like these are just other teams now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, like people are like, oh man, there's not gonna be Duke and bro. Like what made those teams the powers was their coaches. Yes. They're gone. I really want to see them because of the name. Like I can understand wanting to see Coach K and Coach K's team or Roy Williams' team or Jay Wright's team for Villanova, but you just want to see Duke just because it's Duke, or you want to see UNC because it's UNC. Yeah, right. That's a lot of riding. That's kind of you might need to go touch some grass, brother. You just want to see that team because of the name, not because there's a coach that that's fascinating or
I just want to give a shout out to Miami. Super shout out to Miami. I have some friends with the show who are Miami Canes fans, so shout out to them. Congrats on the Final Four, and we'll see what happens.
Shout out to Phil. Let's move forward with this with a little comment. Let's just try to run through this real quick before we head out of here. But listen. One person who is constantly nonstop funny, intentionally, unintentionally, is Paul Pierce. And I just got to show this clip, man.
And when it was the playoffs and you had to get in the wheelchair, you had to come.
I sprained my MCL.
It was your MCL?
It was my MCL. Yeah. I don't believe all them rumors. I had to go to the bathroom.
What rumors?
You was there. What happened there?
I don't know. I'm asking what rumors you talking about.
Everybody talking about I had to take a shit.
Yo, man, listen. I don't care what Paul Pierce got to say, man. Paul Pierce, you had a cramp or something, whatever, like MCL, bro. You had a boo boo. It looked like you had a boo boo, and even if you didn't, and it wasn't MCL, ain't nobody going wrong with that story, bro. The story you're ever going wrong with is you had to take a shit, and you went to the bathroom, and you got that turd up out of you, and came out of dry bucket. DJ, I gotta ask you this question. What's the story that you would go with? MCL or man, I had to take a shit. What's the story you would go with?
Sorry, I'm going with if I'm Paul Pierce or what?
If you're Paul Pierce.
I'm for sure going with MCL. That's embarrassing. To poop on yourself during the NBA Finals game? Nah, hell no, man. You got hey, that's when you got to dig into that's when you got to dig into your LeBron James bag of lies. That's when you got to dig into that. You got to pull LeBron James and come with a crazy lie. You feel me? A crazy
you gotta read the
lie.
first page of Malcolm X autobiography.
Yeah, come on, man. Like,
I would just say I have a cramp. Having a cramp is probably the easiest thing to just like casually lie about. Like, oh hey, yeah, I have a cramp. I need to go to the locker. Oh, I'm back out there because the cramp settled itself out. Do what Lamar Jackson did. He had a cramp during that Browns game.
That was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy.
I'm going the Shaquille O'Neal route. I think Shaq would have said, "Man, I had to take a shit." That's where I'm going because I think the mystique of Paul Pierce tearing, hurting his MCL, kind of like the Willis Reed stuff, whatever. I forgot to do from the Dodgers. Not Gibson, I forgot his name. I'm coming in and limping around the base of a home run. Man, listen, sometimes things happen, and boo-boo was a part of life. Because you got to think about it also. If you ever watch wrestling and they talk about it, wrestlers being in the ring, having to use the bathroom, and they get body slammed or somebody jump on top of them, and they tell these stories about how they shit themselves. It's never a pretty story. But the fact that Paul Pierce could have said, man, something came over me, I cramped up, I had to go do it, and came out and did whatever, I just roll with it. I think at this point in time, it's roll because nobody cares. Because no one's going to MCL. Nobody care about that shit, bro. You hear what Kevin Garnett said? What story? We don't care about the MCL. Listen, if you had to take a shit, you had to take a shit. But that's me because I'm not going to be serious. And speaking of not serious, baseball is not fucking serious. Check this out.
I don't like that call. Now here's the action right here, and the umpire felt like Realmuto took his glove out of the way, and I think Realmuto didn't sense that the ball was on its way, so he just figured the umpire would.
Listen, they can speed up the clock. They can do the replay or whatever case may be. I think the umpire element has to stay in the game so we get more ridiculous shit like that.
The worst part.
Good.
Sorry, I was going to say the worst part about that is there are going to be a bunch of boomers online who will defend the umpire, saying, "Hey, JT Realmuto was being so disrespectful to the game. The umpire has any just stupid shit like that, or like pimping a home run. It's guaranteed the boomer is just going to defend it. It's like, why? Don't you want people to watch the game? The WBC, people were watching that. They love that. And now it's like, oh, let's go do 160."
It's just, bro. Baseball is just not a serious sport, man. We haven't discussed the World Baseball Classic, right? Mm-hmm. But I know a lot of people were watching because it was fun. It was fun. The World Baseball Classic was fun, whether guys got hurt or not or whatever. It was fun. To now go back to spring training and see a catcher being ejected in a meaningless game over if the ball was placed in your hand, like, bruh. No one is going to watch the Major League Baseball, even though Major League Baseball is making a whole bunch of money, stuff like that, a whole bunch of revenue. They're cash stinking rich. The product itself is awful because of these damn traditionalists, these fucking boomers. It's never going to get better until these motherfuckers are out, until the baseball writers are gone, until the old Hall of Famers are gone. It's never going to be fun. I'm giving up on baseball being fun. The most entertainment will be the ridiculousness of the umpire. That's the most entertainment we're going to get. Because I'm not going to talk about the game. I'm not going to say, I don't care who does what, unless it's something fucking 7 home run game or 25 strikeout, perfect game and shit. There's nothing to talk about because everything has been done in baseball. You know what I mean? Shohei's the biggest draw, and he just came off the World Baseball Classic, striking out his teammate. You think that same energy is going to translate into the MLB this season? No.
Oh, my goodness.
Listen, it's crazy, and I challenge MLB to do something about it. But speaking of challenges, no challenge is greater than this challenge. And DJ, you got to see this challenge. And this is about one of the last things before we head up out of here. But I don't know if you saw this or not. Adult film star King Nasir is currently in Ghana to satisfy Ghanaian actress, I think it's Sugar TT. She had publicly declared that no man allowed her to reach orgasm. They will compete live on a paid platform. Source.
What kind of Black Mirror shit is this?
If we talking about challenges, DJ, I don't know what's wrong with people, but this is hilarious for many reasons. I don't know if the fact that she made this. I mean, women often say a lot of things, and I know the orgasm gap is really huge, but
It is.
I don't understand. I understand her saying it, but the fact that they're going to be a challenge live on TV, have we reached the jump in the shark moment yet? Like, I mean, I think we're there. We've jumped the shark. If this actually is true when it happens, who's tuning in?
Yeah, so who's tuning in?
Who's tuning in, bro? Like,
the man want to make sure the coast is clear before he tune in.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the Poom Poom Challenge, as we call it. Dubbing it the Poom Poom Challenge. And she said, no man has ever. And he rose to the occasion and said, hey. And for some of my degenerates out there who know King Nasir is, if you ever see a dude, you know, doing stuff like in a convenience store, I don't know if it's the same dude do something at the convenience store and all that stuff. But whoever, you know, pay attention to, you know, smut, easy. I guess he's one of those guys. I guess he's a top guy, top name.
I'm just wondering, like, how exactly is this contest even going to be determined? Like, are they just listening to her? Are they going to look? Like, what's going on here? Because there's a lot of, like, questions. This is a Black Mirror episode. I'm sorry. This is Black Mirror.
Listen, I don't know how this goes about. It was brought on my desk. Shout out to Kev. He put it there. Listen, things get crazy on this show. And, you know, we talk about challenges and rise to the challenge. And that's one thing I personally wouldn't put my own, as a man, put myself out there to possibly fail in that situation, especially live. So shout out to you, King Nasir, if this is true. Good luck in all your endeavors, especially this one. But like I said, we need to get up out of here, so we're going to do our final and favorite segment. I don't know if DJ ever seen this segment, but it's one of our new favorites, man.
It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Pull up a seat and get off your feet for Jude's Grooves.
About that time, ladies and gentlemen, it's Jude's Grooves. DJ, if you're not familiar with Jude's Grooves, Jude is going to read out loud hip hop lyrics from a certain song. I believe the song choice today was the third verse of not wait, hold on, I gotta make sure. What is it, Jude? The third verse of
I don't know. I'm looking it over right now, and this would be interesting.
Yeah, well, it's good. This go ahead, bro. Go ahead. This is Jude's Grooves. I don't think DJ ever heard this, so let me mute my mic.
There's some interesting stuff. So here we go. Me and the boy AI got more in common than just barring and rhyming. Get it? More in Carmen. I came in your Bentley backseat. Damn. Skeeted in your Jeep. Woo. I have condoms on your baby seat. Woo. Here, nigga. The gloves is off. The love is done. It's whatever, whenever, however, nigga. One. And since you're in fashion, they were saying that gay shit. Oh my. Bitch, you was kissing my dick when you was kissing that bitch. Oh. Nasty shit. You thought I was boning Renette. You're calling Carm 100 times. I was boning her neck. You got a baby by the broad. You can't disown it.
Whose song is this by?
It's super ugly.
When does your lies? I don't know what this is. When does your lies end? When does the truth begin?
I ain't heard them lyrics ever.
When does reality set in, or does it not matter? Gotta hurt. I'm your baby mama's favorite rapper. Haha. And ask your current girls, you know what's up. However, real nigga. Jigga, I don't give a fuck. So, yeah, wow. Wow.
Yo, DJ's face throughout the whole thing was like, what are you saying?
The man, this is, wow, Kev. I have so many,
that's Jay-Z.
It's super ugly. The third verse is so ugly. Jay super ugly third verse.
I ain't never heard that. I ain't never heard that song.
Oh man,
there is so many questions with this, and I'm just like, why? What? I guess that's how he got famous. But yeah,
yo, listen, man, it's definitely a part of the show. Definitely part of the brand. I'm gonna end this the show right there, man. Shout out to DJ Bieneme for joining us. Make sure you follow us on TikTok, _initial_pod on TikTok. Make sure you follow Kevin Lewis at KLEW24. Make sure you follow Jew Truth at Jew Truth. Follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at MIPod69. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, MIPod TV, youtube.com/MIPod TV. And make sure you follow DJ Bieneme on Twitter, man. If you're in Houston, shout out to Houston. You know, I'm definitely going to visit. I said I was going to visit. You know what I mean? I'm definitely going to visit. And I gotta send DJ his housewarming gift. Make sure you follow him at DJ BIENAIME and show love, man. DJ, appreciate you. Any final words for you, guys?
No, that's about it. Probably just play Madden for the rest of the night.
All right, man. From me to you, man, stay inspired by 69. Peace. Make sure you join that Patreon.